Hi everybody, very welcome to a impromptu live stream here on the Mentour Pilot channel. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. I'm going to start by apologizing for not having done more live streams lately. There's been a lot of, well, first of all, it's been Christmas, so Happy New Year to all of you. And I've taken a little bit of time off from the channel, from producing videos, from doing live streams, and from the app over the holidays in order to spend some more time with my family. But now I am back, and I am here during a very, very sad day for commercial aviation. There's a lot of things that has been happening lately. I'm likely going to do a more dedicated video about what's going on. Obviously, I won't be going into anything about the causes of the crash that happened in Iran, outside of Tehran, this morning, because we don't know much. We have to wait for the accident investigators to come with their initial assessment, to come with more information. And something that I want to ask from all of you guys who are watching this is, please do not retweet questionable media outlets or conspiracy theories that are out there, because the only thing it does is it kind of muddies the water, it clouds the judgment, and you have to understand that there's a lot of politics involved in the current crisis between US and Iran. There's a lot of different commercial interests that would like to see both the oil price come up and go down, and all of them have a vested interest in sending out, conspiracy theories for one reason or the other. So please be very careful with what kind of media outlets that you're using when you're retweeting it or you're sending out on social media, because these kind of things can have real impacts in the world, and we don't want to be part of that evil cycle that is sending out, false information. Whatever it might be, unless it can be corroborated by several sources, it should probably not be sent out. And I am doing my absolute best to kind of monitor the situation and see what's going on, and to send out through on mentorpilot.com whenever I get some information that we can actually rely on. So mentorpilot.com, use that. Use the Mentour Aviation app if you want to send questions to me directly. There's links to how to download the free app down here. I hope that you have, well, at least as many as possible of you have used that, because we are a great team there that is sending out news, not only about this obviously, but about aviation news, about the industry, about everything. Every day there's going to be news there from all of the different outlets out there. So do use the Mentour Aviation app for your daily updates if you want something that is supposed to be unbiased and hopefully correct as well, even though we cannot be 100% sure, obviously. Even there's so much information going on out there. Great, so that's what I wanted to start up with. Now, this was supposed to be a Mentour Aviation in-app live stream. Let's see. For some reason, it looks like there's not. Yeah, it should be. There's loads and loads of people here, but I can't see how many is actually active on the live stream. So the way that this works, guys, is that if you have a really, really important question, something that you really want me to answer, well, then you use the super chat function. That's a little function with a little dollar sign on. It means that you're donating some money to the work that I do for the channel, for the app, for loads of things that that I'm trying to achieve. And it also means that your question will be highlighted so that I can see it. And I promise you I will be answering super chat questions. Otherwise, I'll be taking questions from the normal chat here as well. So let's have a look and see who's around. I can see that Per Tjärnström is here. Great, Per, thank you for your help. Yeah, it just popped up now. 610 people are watching at the moment, which is great. Let's see if we can get some questions here. So, hey Petter, I've sent you a message on Instagram asking for some advice. I would love if you could check it out. Right, guys, when it comes to Instagram, I put out a lot of pictures, videos, instructions and stuff on Instagram, but I can't handle all of the messages, because the problem with Instagram is that I have to pre-approve the messages, okay? And I can't just pre-approve everyone, because then I wouldn't do anything else than answering messages on Instagram. So I have tried to limit it down to answering questions that comes in through the Mentour Aviation app to a certain degree on Facebook and on YouTube. But Instagram, I cannot answer direct questions or direct messages on Instagram. So please don't try, because I don't even see them, unfortunately. It's just too much of it. Wisely Powell is the first one on the super chat. Thank you very much, Wesley. Which sunglasses do you use specifically? I'm taking PPL lessons in polarized glasses, and I know that's a no-no. Yeah, I have a pair of Ray-Bans. Now, I have prescription lenses because I wear glasses normally. So I have specific prescription glasses in my Ray-Ban frames. I love the Ray-Ban frames. I've been using the same pair for, well, probably 8 years now. They're really high quality frames. The polarized glasses are not great, especially when you start flying on EFIS. Because they will distort the screens. You will see much less. Some of the colors will be distorted, and sometimes it comes up like rainbow patterns on the screens when you use polarized glasses. So if they work for you when you're flying Cessna, then fine. If you start to see that there are problems on watching, maybe you're using some Garmin instrumentation in the Cessnas as well, and in that case, if you have problems with it, then take them away and get some non-polarized glasses. That's what I would suggest. Okay, so then Sherip 777 is asking about the Ukrainian 737. Like I said in the beginning of the stream, I will not go into what might have happened to that aircraft. The only thing that I can say is that from my point of view, what we do know is that the aircraft disappeared from radar when it was passing 8,000 feet, and it just disappeared. There was no mayday calls, there was no 7700 in the transponder, there was nothing. So at 8,000 feet, something catastrophic happened. That's all we can say at the moment. There are videos out there that pertain that they're showing the aircraft going down. On those videos, you can clearly see that something is already burning while it's airborne. You can also see that parts is falling off on that video before the aircraft hits the ground. But that's all we know. Okay, so we know something catastrophic happened at 8,000 feet. There was no mayday call, which means that it's something that had a very, very quick, whatever happened very quick, and the pilots were not able to send out any messages, and the aircraft went straight down. So that limits it. An engine failure, a simple engine failure, or even engine fire would not do that. So an engine failure, a 737-800 is fully capable of flying with a failed engine, especially from that altitude. And an engine fire, we also are able to fly, unless that fire or the engine explodes and then shrapnel actually takes off part of the wing or something like that. That would be a catastrophic thing. Okay, so whatever happened, it was something big that happened, and we have to wait for the investigation team that will come. Even though I know that Iran is not sending out the black boxes to the US, which can kind of be understood in the current crisis that they have. They're basically on the brink of war, and then you wouldn't be kind of collaborating on these kind of things. So I am sure that they will find an accident investigation team, maybe from the Canadians or from the Ukrainians, that can do that type of work anyway, without the Iranians losing face for having to take help from the US. So you can be absolutely sure, since there were so many foreign people on board of this tragic flight, that those countries will be working really, really hard to get to the bottom of whatever it was that happened. So I'm sure that at some point, probably in a few, at least weeks, but maybe a month from now, we will have a much clearer picture of what happened. In any case, it's very, very tragic, and my thoughts goes to, of course, the families and the friends of the passengers and the crew on board, because those are the ones that are, really, really poor off at the moment. And that's also why I keep insisting people not to speculate. Because if you put yourself in the seat of those people that have lost someone they love, you wouldn't want people to sit and speculate about potential terrorist causes or anything like that. You just want to know what happened. And that the only way of doing that is to let the accident investigation team do their work. John McGarvey, hi Mentor. Is there any update on your pilot training that you're venturing into yet? I'm waiting hard on this. Yes, there is. There should be a newsletter coming out, hopefully at the end of this week or the beginning of next week, that will show the progress we're doing. We're still aiming on launching it in April, but I will be giving you more information about it. We were hoping to do a big launch that would cover several countries. It's turning out that the funding, the unsecured funding that we are trying to get to you guys, to enable all of you guys that would be great pilot but maybe don't have the money to do so, that part is turning in to be a little bit tricky, because there's different rules for different banks in different countries, and all of this has to be aligned. So our very, very kind of ambitious timeline is not working out exactly like we wanted it, but we will have something to that will come up very, very soon. So just stay tuned, make sure that you have your email attached to the emailing list for the Airline Pilot Club, and we will come with more information as soon as we can. Okay. And guys, I hope that you have already seen or heard that I will be at the Pilot Expo in Berlin on the 21st and the 22nd of February. So if you guys are interested in getting free entry tickets there, I have entry tickets I will be putting up on the app. I will be doing something to share the probably a forum with the code that you need to use in order to get free entry tickets. Obviously, I don't want anyone to have to pay to come and see me, but I would love to see as many of you as possible come by and say hello, because these are one of those occasions where I can actually get an organized meetup. So it would be really, really nice to see as many of you as possible in Berlin on the 22nd in the afternoon, because I will be doing a keynote speech. I'll be flying in, like midday on Friday, and then I'll be doing a keynote speech, and then I will be doing a meetup for like the afternoon part, and then during the Saturday on the 22nd, I am going to be there to meet up with you guys from when it starts until when it's finished. I just hope that this time I get a chair so I can sit down to kind of save my back a little bit, but I will be there, and there will be free entrance for anyone who uses the discount code that I will have on both on mentorpilot.com and on the Mentour Aviation app. All right? So I hope to see you all there. Sam Petros, thanks for your hard work, Captain. Well, thank you, Sam, for your hard work. Sam is one of the wizards behind the Mentour Aviation app, who's making sure that you guys get the latest and the best news all the time, and he's doing a fantastic work in the app. So thank you, Sam, for all that you do. Pressurized Apex, thank you very much for supporting the channel. That's very generous of you. Hi, I'm wondering if we can talk about a future collaboration. I'm becoming a pilot on the 737NG, and I'm wondering if I can get some tips for you, please. What would be the quickest and easiest way to contact you? So if you have the Mentour Aviation app, then if you go to submit feedback, that will send an email, like it's made for feedback from the app, but it will send an email that I will have access to. So if you send that, I don't know exactly what you're thinking about when it comes to collaboration, but when it comes to kind of like one-to-one talks, that's something that I do with my Patreon crew if they need it. I don't do it every day because I wouldn't be doing anything else. But with my Patreons, whenever they need some help, if you're on the $10 tier or above, then we can schedule in a Skype call and we can discuss whatever you have any doubts about when it suits you and me. Normally that will be on Fridays. So get the Mentour Aviation app, send me a message with what you think about, and join my Patreon crew. That's the best way of doing it. All right? And thank you once again. Barry Bird, fancy a coffee next time you're in East Midlands? Yeah, I am always up for a cup of coffee and some nice aviation talk. That's why I'm here, so sure. I'm not in East Midlands very often though, I have to say. I'm more often in Stansted than in Bergamo. Please don't feed the animals. That's a great name. Tips for financing flight training. Is it even possible? Is it possible? Yeah, it is possible, of course. And that's what I'm working on. So, traditionally, financing flight school has been a real pain in the ass. And what I mean by that is that unless you have access to money, and that might be through your family, maybe by putting a mortgage on your family's house, or by maybe a rich relative or something like that. If you have that, or you can put up collateral towards a bank, then you tend to be able to get a bank loan and you can finance it that way. If not, then there traditionally hasn't that really been any way to finance this except doing the modular route, which can be cheaper, and then you can work at meantime. So then you can get a job, maybe working as a ramp agent or something like that on the airport, work, and every time that you have some money over, you can use that for flight lessons and learn. That way you will get your license. It will take longer, it will probably cost you less money, but that's the modular way. Now, what we are working with at the Airline Pilot Group, the Airline Pilot Club, in the Airline Pilot Club, the APC, which we are about to launch very, very soon, we are working on a different concept where we will be screening you, because that's something that if you've been following the channel for a while, you know how important it is to be properly screened, so that you know that you have the kind of personality traits that you need to have before you start your training. So we will be helping you to do that, screen you, and then if you pass the screening, if you turn out that yes, it looks like you have what it takes, you're going to be moved forward towards a school that we have checked out to make sure that you only get to quality schools. Now, it doesn't mean that schools that are not as part of the APC are not quality schools, but it means that the schools that are on there, we would have sent out our group of experts to check, to make sure that they have good finances, that they have good training, that they have good instructors, aircraft, all of that will be guaranteed. That means that it's probably not going to be the cheapest schools, but that won't matter too much, because once you have passed the second part of the screening, which is going to be the screening at the school, so there will be one screening for us, then one screening for the school. Once you pass that, then our idea and what we're working together towards is to be able to provide you with some kind of unsecured financing. So this doesn't mean that it's going to be free, right? We don't live in a fairy tale, unfortunately. I would have loved to be able to give you access to free money, but that doesn't exist. So you will be, hopefully, when we're done with this, you'll be able to get access to an unsecured loan at an interest rate, which is probably going to be quite high, but not incredibly high. And you'll be able to use that. If you have another means, let's say that you have something that you can use as collateral, or you have some money by yourself, you can use that, or you can find another way of financing. But at least I want to make sure that you guys who have the right stuff have a way to do it. Then you're going to be trained through, and once you are through and you have all of your licenses at these, it's going to be integrated training on these schools. Well, then we will also work with airlines to try to find you at least an interview, to make sure that you get into an airline, or have the chance to get into an airline after your training is complete. This is what the Airline Pilot Club is going to try to do. Okay, and as you can understand, this is an enormous task, and it's something that I've been burning for years, both to be able to make sure that you guys are properly screened before you get into this, and that once you are screened, that you have access to the money to do it, and then once you are trained, that you have a possibility for a job. These are the kind of things that have been lacking in the industry up until now, and me and Andy O'Shea, which is the ex-head of training of Ryanair, who's working with me on this, we are doing our damnedest to try to make sure that this happens. We have a fantastic crew behind, with all of the connections that Andy has gotten during the years that he's been working in the industry. He's been head of training of one of the world's biggest airlines for several decades. And me, with the reach that I have with you guys, with all of my social media channels, and also with, we are the spearheads, and then we have a team below us that's going to help us out. So we think that we can do this. We really, really think that we can do this. We think that if someone is going to do this, it's going to be us. And I hope that you guys are going to appreciate it, that you guys are going to be willing, and that we can get some really good pilots out there who maybe wouldn't have had a chance otherwise. Now, there are other ways to become a pilot as well. There are sponsored schemes. You can look at Aer Lingus as a sponsored scheme, for example. There are other sponsored schemes around as well. There are government-funded programs like in Sweden and in France as well. I think Norway have great financing available as well. So all of these things are available. But for the vast majority out there, those things is only going to be a dream, because there's only so many spots. There's only a couple of hundred in total in Europe that might be able to get through to a fully sponsored scheme. But they are available, so do try to find those first. But if that doesn't work, then I hope that I can provide a backup solution for you guys. Anna, does 8,000 feet in the 737 allow enough altitude to recover from a major malfunction? Well, that depends on what a major malfunction is. From an engine failure, no problem at all. I mean, we can take off with the engine failure at V1, the critical speed, just as we're about to rotate. If we have a critical malfunction of the engine, then if the engine basically ceases, we can still control it, fly it perfectly around for a safe landing. So 8,000 feet for any kind of engine malfunction is not a problem. However, if there's a problem with the the steering of the aircraft, for example, or there's a bomb that goes out or something that cripples the aircraft, then it doesn't matter what kind of altitude we have available, we might not be able to recover from it. So it's very hard to say whether or not 8,000 feet is enough to get out of something when it's not exactly stipulated what that something is. And I hope that makes sense. Hi, from Aditsati. Hi, I am currently flying to get my PPL. In the first 3 lessons with the 172, I've had motion sickness. Is this likely to reduce going forward? Yeah, so it's very, very common to have motion sickness in the beginning, and there's a good reason for that. I had terrible motion sickness myself, not when I started my flight training, but the first couple of times that I was out flying with my dad. The reason you get motion sickness is that you have a little bit more sensitive equilibrium system in your inner ears, all right? And there's nothing you can do about that. That's just the way it is. But you have to find techniques for it. And the problem that people tend to do is that you're looking too much outside. When you're flying, you're kind of looking out, looking down. And when the motion sickness comes when your kind of balance system cannot mix what you're feeling with what you're seeing. So if the balance system is feeling that you're going up and down, left and right and stuff, but you're looking down at trees moving below you, that's where the motion sickness comes from. So if you, when you feel that, start to concentrate on your instrumentation instead, or if you look out through the horizon and you kind of fix your eyes at a point on the horizon, it will disappear. And it won't come in the first place. Okay, because once it comes, it's hard to get rid of. But if you concentrate on making sure that you have a fixed spot that you're looking at, so that whatever you're feeling can be mixed with what you're seeing, you won't get that motion sickness in the first place. It's the same reason that you get motion sickness in a car when you start, sitting looking out through the side window, or when you take up your mobile phone and you try to read something when you're going in a car. It's exactly the same reason. So don't worry about it. There are techniques for it, and it will disappear if you concentrate on that. Charlie Duncan, do you like double or single strobe light? I have never thought about that. That is one question that I've never gotten. I am not a big fan of any kind of strobe lights except the ones that makes on my wingtips so that people can see me. But I will say double then, just for the sake of saying something. Great question. Dominik Oravec, hello. My last flight, our captain was outside the cockpit for approximately 1 hour talking to steward, but cabin crew went inside the cockpit only after 15 to 20 minutes. Is it okay that only one pilot stays in the cockpit alone? Yeah, so this is different depending on what airline you're flying for. Very rare that the one pilot would be outside of the cockpit for that long. I wouldn't say that it is very good. It's not prudent because we are 2 in the cockpit for a reason, and that reason is simply because you want to make sure that you have a backup if something happens, and you want to make sure that 2 people are monitoring the ATC frequency, for example. Now, having said that, it is not illegal for the pilot to leave. Some airlines required a secondary person to be in there, like a flight attendant. Some airlines don't. There are no rules regarding that either. So what you saw, I would say, if the pilot actually was outside for an hour, that was pure bad airmanship. Like, that's not something that should happen. But I'm sure that airline didn't have any specific rules against that either. So there's not much to be said, unfortunately. I wouldn't do that. I would only go out to stretch my legs, to take a breather or whatever it might be, and then go straight back in again, because you are supposed to be in there. That's what you're being paid for. And I'm sure that if they would, reduce pay for the time that person stayed outside of the cockpit, that person wouldn't stay outside of the cockpit for very long. So PBK reviews. Any thoughts on the news about wiring in the tail of the NG, and what do you think will happen if investigation points to manufacturer faults for the crash? I don't want to speculate on what will happen in case that it comes down to the manufacturer. What I will say, and this is something that I completely stand behind, is that the 737NG is a safe aircraft. And I know that because I've been flying the 737NG uninterrupted for 18 years straight. I've been flying tens of thousands of hours on the type. I know that there is always improvements that can be made. The wiring issue has never come up before on the NG, which would indicate that if there was an issue with the wiring being too tight, at least it hasn't historically caused any kind of problems, no short-circuiting, anything like that. But if it comes up as part of a review of the MAX and they say that, well, the NG has a similar thing, and they manage to just insulate it, pull its wiring apart or whatever, well, that's a good thing then. Then this whole system of re-evaluation is working, all right? But so far, the NG, you have to understand that I think an NG takes off and lands somewhere in the world every 30 seconds or something crazy like that. Like, it is an enormously successful airliner that is flown by hundreds, if not thousands, of different companies around, well, probably hundreds around the world, all the time. Millions of flight hours without anything happening to it. So the NG is a perfectly safe airframe, right? Then, of course, there can be malfunctions that happens from time to time. That is inevitable when you're dealing with man-made stuff, things that have a lot of different components and things that are moving around. There will be some failures with it. And that's why there's redundancy. That's why there's two engines in case one fails. That's why there's two pilots in case one dies. That's why there's two different electrical systems, 3 different hydraulic systems. There are redundancies for absolutely everything, and that's the way that it works. So what you're seeing regarding the NG and the fact that people are now starting to question how safe the NG is pure fabrication of media hype. That is what happens when the media start connecting, like I saw it did today after that horrible crash in Tehran, where they say that this is a 737-800, which is closely related to the grounded MAX, which had these accidents. That's when you make correlations. You take stuff that's happened to another type, well, another variant of the same type, and then you kind of imply from the media's point of view that, well, they are very closely related, so maybe there's something to... No, that's not what you do, right? That's not how things work. If a car brings on a new system, if a new model of a car has a completely new brake system, and that brake system doesn't work, doesn't mean that the old model that doesn't have that brake system have a problem. Okay, that you have to make sure that you don't follow on to hypes like that, because it's not fair. It's not fair towards Boeing. It's not fair towards the 737-800 and the 737s that came before that has been flying for 60. Well, that's been flying since the 60s. With a very good safety record behind them. That's what I have to say about that. Okay. Adam Lathan has brought back his message for some reason. Very sorry to see. Adam, if you had a question and it didn't come through for whatever reason, then go to the Mentour Aviation app, use the submit feedback function, send it, just put in the message super chat, and I will try to answer it for you. Braden Sheldon, do you have any tips on landing? As a pilot, I have many tips. That's a big part of what I do as a training captain, is to teach people to land. I'm gonna need to know a little bit more specifically what it is that you need help with, because there's many. Otherwise, either you are a passenger that wants to feel safer during landing. That's one type of tips. Either you are a flight simmer in which case I won't be able to help you much because I don't fly much flight sim. Even though my son Lucas has just gotten the X-Plane 11 together with a yoke and a throttle quadrant and a pair of real pedals for Reyes, and I was up trying it right now. I was up flying a Cessna 172, and it's incredible. Like, it's crazy the feeling that you can get out of it, you know, even though that it's the graphics are a little bit rudimentary and stuff, but you do kind of, I kind of started remembering how it was to fly a 172 just by playing around with that one. So I can't wait until Flight Sim 2020 comes out with some really good graphics and stuff. Then you might actually see me flying that thing on his channel, on Luca Dicker's channel. Look that up. Because if I'm going to do some like playing around things with a flight simulator, it won't come on the Mentour Pilot channel, that's for sure. It will come on his. So, Adrian, you asked if the video that you sent to help me fix the issue with the throttle quadrant worked. It did. It did work. Thank you very much. So, Luke Scott, thank you very much for your support. Flying Arc, with an airplane like the 787, is the maximum speed based on ground speed or airspeed? Can any Boeing fly faster than 800 miles per hour ground speed? It's always based on airspeed. Maximum speeds are never based on ground speed. Ground speed is a fictional value for us. Okay, ground speed is something that if you're flying in a jet stream that has a 300 knot jet stream, which could potentially happen. I've been in jet streams that have been 150 knots, 200 knots almost. Well, then you'll be flying with the same indicated airspeed as you would in still air. But of course, if you're flying with it, your ground speed is now going to be 300 knots quicker. And that's going to bring you well up above that speed that you just mentioned. So never think about maximum speeds in terms of ground speed. Never do that, because it has nothing to do with each other. Okay? So yes, any Boeing or any Airbus or even a Cessna theoretically could fly faster than that ground speed if they were in quick, strong enough tailwind. So there is one super chat question here from Megalorex that I can't see. I'm going to try to see if I can get that up from the normal chat here before I continue and take some questions from the normal chat as well. You guys are very active today. I'm guessing that has to do with the tragedy that has just unfolded. I'm sorry that I can't give you any more straight answers to that because, like I explained before, I just can't get into to the reasons behind crashes like that. Okay, let's see. This thing is frozen up completely now. There we go. Let's see if I can find this last super chat questions. Otherwise, I'll take some questions here from the normal chat as well. Hey Mentor, I'm currently doing the ATPL. Do you recommend me to do an MCC APS? Thank you very much. Yes, I do. The APS MCC is a better version of the original type MCC. It's also more expensive, but you get much more for your money. And I've always been saying that at the end of your training, when it is time for you to kind of really crown your knowledge to make you ready to go for that airline interview, whatever it be, you don't want to cheap out then. Okay, you want to make sure that you get as good of an MCC course as you possibly can, because that's when you're learning to work together as a team in a two-pilot environment, and that's what you're going to be checked on. When you do your simulator test for an airline, they're going to put you in a Boeing 737 or an Airbus or whatever it might be, and they're going to see how you work together. So the better MCC course that you can get toward the end of your training, the better it is. And the APS MCC is, by the way, the brainchild of my partner, Andy O'Shea. Like Andy O'Shea, he is, if anyone can claim to be the father of the APS MCC, it's Andy O'Shea. And he is my partner in the Airline Pilot Club, the APC Club. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of the kind of quality behind the group that we are working together in order to get this funding initiative off the ground. The APS MCC is definitely one that I would go for, providing that you can afford it, because I know that they are quite expensive. But remember that you know, if you have been paying the kind of money that you would have paid in order to do an integrated ATPL to start with, well, then you should not stop paying there. You should get your APS MCC done. Okay, so John Miles is asking, I know about instrument landing, so is there something like instrument departure? So will ATC refuse takeoff if visibility is too poor? Yeah, you will have to have a minimum visibility for takeoff, but it tends to be really low. So down to 125 meters is what we take off in. And I think there are airports that you can go even lower if you have certain type of airplanes. But generally speaking, you need to see something to land, all right? And you need to see something to take off as well. There are zero visibility landings available if you have a special Cat 3 equipment on the airport, also in the aircraft. I don't think that there are any ones that are active at the moment. So you can kind of take it as a rule that you will have to see something both during the landing and the takeoff to a certain extent, and it's much lower. Like the takeoff takeoff visibility or an RVR that you need can go as low as 125 meters, but you need to be able to see the center line lights what you're rolling off. So, Megalorex, this may be a dumb question. I don't know a lot about airplanes, but when the plane's landing, how does it know not to give off terrain warnings? That is actually not a stupid question. It's a really good question. In fact, most of the questions that comes up on this channel tend to be. The GPWS, as in the Ground Proximity Warning System, is based on a global database of terrain. Now that database also knows where the airports are. So it knows, as we're getting closer to an airport, it does know that it's an airport that we're closing into. So it inhibits the warnings. It knows that we are on the right place, and it will not give you a warning. And I know that both because obviously I've read about it, but also I have flown into airports which are not in the database, and then it starts to become very, very interesting, because then the GPWS thinks that you're actually descending into terrain, which means that as you're nicely established on the ILS and you see the runway straight ahead of you, you start to get terrain, 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 pull up, which is not a nice thing to have on short final, I can tell you that. The reason, the one time that it happened to me was when we started flying into Niederrhein in Germany. Now Niederrhein is a military airport. It was a complete military airport, and military airports are not contained in the GPWS database. So because it hadn't been updated, we had those warnings, and a lot of people had to go around even though they saw the runway, because that's the rule we have. If you get a hard GPWS warning, you have to do the terrain escape maneuver and go around. Okay, so they had to do a special brief for Niederrhein when we started off there, and then we had to switch off the GPWS once we had positively identified where our position was, and then we could land anyway. But it just goes to show that, yeah, it can happen, and it's a great question. So, guys, I am not planning to do a full hour. I just wanted to talk to you guys because I know that you guys had a lot of questions today. Christoph was asking, can you be a pilot with glasses? And to answer your question, yes, you can. There are certain kind of limits to how much of a eye correction you can have, and depending on what kind of eyesight problem you have, those corrections are different. So you have to talk to your AME, your aeromedical examiner, and they will be able to tell you. Now, I had 20/20 vision when I started flying, and then as I got older, I started needing glasses. I don't know, I had a growth spurt when I was like 25, and I think that when I had that kind of distorted one of my eyes a little bit. So I have much worse eyesight on my left eye than on my right eye, which is why I can do this. You know, I see everything perfectly because my right eye kind of takes over. But if I would just look at with my left eye, it would be very blurry indeed. Right, guys, so let's see. I'll take some more questions from the normal chat here. How often do you perform an autoland? Very rarely. I do it a little bit more often than other pilots because I am an instructor. So I do it as part of the type rating training and when we fly and do our line training, they have to do some a number of Cat 3 approaches. But if I would have to do it only when it's needed operationally, it would probably be maybe 4 or 5 times a year, something like that. Here in Girona, there can be quite bad fog in the mornings and in the late evenings. So yeah, between 5 and 10 times, depending on what kind of season it is. But it's very rare. You need extra runway distance to do autolands. They don't land as good as pilots tend to do. But of course, it's a very, and also you need to have everything switched on, like you have extra clearance in between the aircrafts. The aircraft that are taxiing out needs to hold further away from the runway. There's loads and loads of rules in force for actual Cat 3 to be enforced, and that's why we don't do it all the time. So, the questions are coming just too fast to even skim. Yeah, I know, Uncle Joe, that's why I'm concentrating on the super chat questions, because I can't answer everything. But I want to take some questions from the normal chat as well. Sir, I would like you to explain about Antonov plane, and I would like to see you doing a video of Antonov's world's heaviest plane. I would love to get my hands on an Antonov. Like, it would be really, really cool to be able to kind of fly it in a simulator, for example, or just go and kind of look through it with you guys and look at all of the differences in it. If you are out there and you happen to have access to the world's biggest cargo airplane, then let me know. I would love to come and have a look at it. So, Mentour Pilot, if you have any type of nut allergies, does this prevent you from obtaining a Class 1 medical certificate, considering the CAA medical regulations don't mention anything about allergies? I don't think so. I'm not sure here. When it comes to medical questions, I always urge you to check with an aeromedical center or an aeromedical examiner, which you will find if you just Google them in your town. There's a doctor in every town that has that. You can ask them. To my knowledge, that is not something that will stop you from getting a Class 1 medical. Hi sir, I want to ask you why the Airbus A320 had a hard landing. I don't know which one you're referring to, and Airbuses can have hard landings just like Boeings can have. It depends on the outside conditions, the wind, skill of the pilots, everything. What is better, an Airbus 320 or a Boeing 738? Now that is something that might come in a video very soon, guys, so stay tuned. More questions. I think there's some super chat questions here as well. We're gonna scroll down and see if there's new ones coming up. Ian Jill, great to see you here, Ian. Just thank you for all your hard work. Well, thank you for always being here, Ian. Like, there's some names here that I see popping up that I've been seeing since I started, and it started to be 4 years ago now, which is great. And I'm really, really happy to see you, and I do remember you. So thank you for being a loyal member of the community. It is really highly appreciated. Same for Dominic Oravec. Thank you for your great work. I love all your videos and the app. Well, great. I am really, really happy that you mentioned that. Let's see if we can get promo up here. I don't know if this is working. Here it is, the app. For some reason it's a little bit slow. Now the color scheme is much nicer and lighter now. But in here, in the app, if you're interested in it, you can join the chat, so you can get a news function, or you can choose to get a collection. And if you do, you'll be able to join me inside of the cockpit in 360 environment. So you can use the phone, you can either use your fingers and kind of scroll around, so look at what's going on in the cockpit, or you can move the device, the iPad or the cell phone around to see what's happening. Or if you really, really want to feel like you're sitting on the jump seats together with me, when me and Holly, for example, are doing an engine failure after takeoff or a full setup from dark until it's ready to taxi, well then you can get one of these Google Cardboard headset. The app is fully compatible with Google Cardboard. You can use the VR menu when the headset is on. It is not compatible with Oculus Rift though. So if you have an Oculus Quest or an Oculus Rift, it's not compatible with that. But there are loads, there's over 2 hours of 360 instruction inside of the app. On top of that, you can get, the news function, the chat, all of that. So check it out. Adam Shakard, what would happen if you landed on all wheels at once rather than flaring? It would be very hard, and you would run a risk of breaking the nose gear. Because if there's something that's going to break, if you do a hard landing, especially if you put a lot of weight on nose gear, it is a nose gear. It's the weakest part of the landing gear structure. That's why we take all of the forces landing on the main gear, and then we kind of gently land the nose gear after that. So if you would do a 3-point landing, it would probably hold still because it's very, very durable. But if something were to break, it's going to be the nose wheel. And let's see, the last question then comes from Davey, I think. I'll see if I can find your message there, Davey. Unfortunately, I can't see it. It's below the menu here for some reason, which is very, very strange. Let's see, it should be coming up any second there now. Right, still can't see it. Well, Davey, you know how to reach me anyway. Davey is another one of my administrators inside the Mentour Aviation app. So thank you very much for all of your hard work. And I will see if I can get it up. Now, Davey, if you can't, if you really had something important that you wanted to share with me, well then, Mentour Aviation app, submit feedback, and I'll take it from there. I wonder, I really, really want to answer all of these super chat questions. It really annoys me that I can't see them all. Let's see if I can find it, if I scroll up in the normal chat here. There we go. Do aircraft wipers have windscreen wash in them? That's a great question. No, they don't. We don't have any washing liquid in the windshield wipers. We would only use the windshield wipers if there's rain, really. So you wouldn't need it then. And if there's loads of bugs on the screen, well then we would have the engineers cleaning it, and sometimes we clean it ourselves. I actually have been sitting in, opening the window and kind of reaching out with some cleaning fluid and cleaning the window myself. Very ad hoc, but it has been known to happen. And let's see, Air Mike 888. Thank you very much for your super chat question. Unfortunately, the question didn't come through. So once again, contact me through the Mentour Aviation app, and I will try to answer that question for you. With having said that, guys, I want to thank you for being here. I hope that you've enjoyed this live stream. Now, if you like live streams like this, then I do them once in a while here on YouTube in order to answer questions generally, but I do them quite often inside of the Mentour Aviation app. So if you get the Mentour Aviation app and you become a premium member in the app, that's only $5 per month. Then I will be in there maybe 2-3 times a week, and I'll be answering questions from all of the premium members. There will be shorter live streams, maybe 15-20 to half an hour long, but there will be more of them. And it's a more intimate, there's much less questions because there's less premium members that are available and that want to ask questions. So if you're interested in that, if you like this kind of format and you want to hang out, well then become a premium member in the Mentour Aviation app. Once again, free download links down here. You don't have to pay anything to use the app, but it does cost a little bit to be a premium member or to get one of those training instructional video collections that I have in there. But for now, have an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are out there. Take care of yourselves, and do look at the video that will be coming hopefully on Friday. I am still a little bit in vacation mode, so I haven't decided if I'm going to release a video on Friday or not, but hopefully there'll be another video coming on Friday. Take care of yourself, and bye bye.